The loudest sound wasn't the accusations, or even the threat of the police. It was the laughter. My boss stood in the center of the office floor, his voice carrying across the room. "You've been stealing company funds. You're finished." Beside him, the CEO's son leaned casually with his arms folded, grinning like a man who had already decided the ending of my story. "Dad already called the cops," he said, as though he'd handed me a gift. A stack of papers hit my desk. "Termination papers. Sign them," my boss ordered. "Or we escalate this to criminal charges." Around me, my colleagues had stopped pretending to work. Their eyes followed me, eager for the spectacle. I stayed still, composed. "What? No begging?" my boss mocked. "Pathetic. Cat got your tongue, accountant." They believed they had me cornered. They had no idea. I didn't sign a thing. The son had always been reckless with money. Petty cash gone missing, maxed out expense accounts. But this was different. This was calculated. They had pinned the theft on me cleanly enough to survive a surface-level audit. And the police wouldn't hesitate to believe the CEO's son. But what they didn't know was that I had been collecting evidence for months. Late-night emails I intercepted. Altered invoices routed through my login without consent. Transactions linked to offshore accounts. And the originals, every untouched record, were in my possession. I looked at the son's smug grin and my boss's satisfaction. They thought they were orchestrating everything. But I had been drafting my own plan long before this day. So I played along. I let them think I was defeated. I packed my box slowly, hesitating like a man crushed. But I wasn't leaving in shame. I was stepping into their shadows. That night, I retrieved the backup drives I had hidden in my apartment. Years of records, duplicate ledgers, screenshots, emails, metadata they could never erase. Piece by piece, the trail became clear. Shell companies traced back to a single hub, registered under a holding firm. On the documents, the signature of the CEO's son. And worse, my boss's name appeared in authorization files, approving payouts disguised as consulting fees. I worked until the sun rose. With every file, the picture sharpened. The theft they accused me of was nothing compared to the millions they had siphoned away. The next morning, I sat outside the police station. But I didn't go in. Not yet. Patience is like a blade, blunt if rushed, deadly when sharpened. I needed the perfect stage, one they couldn't walk away from. 3 days later, the company's quarterly board meeting began. I walked in uninvited, my badge still active because they hadn't bothered to deactivate it. The CEO looked startled. His son stiffened. My boss's jaw clenched. I placed a flash drive on the table. "Before you continue," I said, "you'll want to see this." No introductions. No warnings. The files projected onto the large screen. Bank transfers. Account statements. Login timestamps traced directly to the son's office. Emails between him and my boss negotiating their cut. The room was silent except for the clicking of slides. "This is fabricated," the son shouted. I ignored him. My eyes stayed on the CEO. "The metadata is untouched. You can verify it against the server logs." The CEO's expression hardened as he read. My boss tried to speak, but fell silent when the CEO raised his hand. The son's trademark smirk was gone, replaced with something fragile. "You used my company for this?" the CEO demanded. His son stammered, pointing at me. He's framing me." "No," I said calmly. I slid another folder across the table. "Hard copies. Independent auditors. Sealed and signed 2 days ago." I leaned back. "I knew you'd try to deny it. That's why I hired my own audit. Every transaction traced. Every lie exposed." The board members whispered urgently, one already dialing a number. "You wanted me to beg," I said softly, turning to my boss. "Instead, you'll explain all of this to the police. You called them, remember?" 2 security officers entered the room. Not for me, this time for them. I pocketed the flash drive and walked out. That evening, the news broke. The CEO's son and a senior manager under investigation for embezzlement. My phone flooded with messages from former coworkers, but I didn't respond. I had cut ties with that place long ago. This was simply the public execution. Was I innocent? No. I had known about their corruption long before I acted. But sometimes you don't wait for justice, you wait for precision. They tried to erase my name. Now theirs will never recover. And me? I sleep just fine.